Hello friends! Hi, it's me. I am here cooking. So in my last video, I talked a little bit about trying to gain weight and some of the steps that I was taking to do that, and it's been maybe like a month or a month and a half since I did that video because I don't actually remember. But I've been implementing a lot of different things, so this video is going to be talking about the habits that I have been implementing, the little tricks that I've been implementing into my lifestyle to try to help with all of my eating habits, or kind of lack thereof, just because that's kind of my big problem is I have trouble like getting in enough food and like actually having hunger signals. So anyways, I don't know how long it's going to take for me to actually complete this video, but today is Friday. Luckily on Fridays, they're much easier in the mornings. I don't really have a lot going on. We try to not have any appointments on Fridays, so right now I am cooking breakfast. I actually had a very small bowl of Rice Krispies. They're just easy. There's not really any major flavor to them, and they don't turn my stomach, so I ate that first thing. I had a small cup of coffee. It was probably like half cup of coffee. I had a very small, like this big bowl of Rice Krispies, and then now I'm making eggs and egg whites and spinach and garlic and all that kind of stuff. It's flavorful and it's easy for me to eat first thing in the morning when my stomach is upset. Yeah, so get ready. Here we go. So I added mozzarella cheese, one small piece of ham, and a piece of avocado, trying to up the calories a little bit. This is a much higher volume meal than I would normally eat first thing in the morning, but it's actually already after 10 a.m. So it's pretty late morning, late start for me, but I actually feel comfortable enough to eat this much right now. When I was a little kid, I always noticed that first thing in the morning, my stomach used to hurt a lot, and I never really thought much of it, and it was hard for me to eat breakfast, but I would always just have cereal for breakfast. And I woke up and ate at like pretty much the same time every day, and I think that made it easier that even though like I had a kind of an upset stomach, I was still able to eat. And it wasn't anything like GI related. I didn't throw up, I didn't have to use the bathroom, it was nothing like that. Just first thing in the morning, for some reason it was almost like being really anxious, like you have a vice on your stomach. I don't remember experiencing that as much maybe in my late teens, early 20s. Or well, probably late teens, into my early 20s, and then up to now, which is, I'm in my late 20s, I noticed it a lot more. And with starting work pretty early, I mean, I've started work at 4 a.m. before. I don't do that now. I don't start work until like 8 a.m., but I don't really get hungry until like 9 a.m. or later. And then waking up with that like knotted feeling in my stomach also makes it really hard to get in breakfast. So you would think, oh, just skip breakfast and just eat the next meal. By the time it's time to eat, like by the time I'm actually hungry, by the time it's like 9, 10 a.m., I'm usually in the middle of working, and then I'm usually a bit more anxious. So I don't take the time to stop and eat. I wouldn't even have a break until like lunchtime, and then it's so much harder to get in calories from lunchtime onward. I don't really get really hungry and really calm until like the evening. So that's some stuff that I'm kind of battling right now. So yeah, breakfast is a big culprit for me, so I'm kind of working on a few things to make that easier.
Another habit I've been implementing is trying to not eat while distracted. So trying to turn my phone off and not turn on social media, which obviously I'm actually filming on my phone right now, so I could look at it anyway. But what was funny is right after I filmed this, the habit was to try to pick my phone up and look at social media when everything is very stressful right now with all the virus stuff and whatever. That does not help with eating. So yeah, trying to stay off of my phone while eating, trying to stay away from any kind of distractions, not do any work, and just focus on actually taking in food, what it tastes like, what my hunger signals are saying, and all of that kind of stuff.
Happy puppy. What you doing, Hanzo? Just a wagon. Hey, sweet girl.
So I got to about here before I finally had to stop. Just started to feel a little bit nauseated, sort of, like not like I'm actually gonna throw up, but almost like I'm gonna gag maybe.
So I did get up and walked away, hoping that my appetite would come back, which it never does. Thinking I would eat the rest later. Well, it has not come back, so this will have to go into the garbage, but it was a good try. Heading into town now. I've got to run some errands and take care of a couple things, and then I decided to work out at my business gym instead of my home gym today. So one of the big issues that I've faced with food, part of the reason I decided to start taking care of my eating habits, like taking it very seriously, is I started to notice that this like anxiety or like bad feelings I've had around food are starting to compound. So like I know that I want to gain weight. I know that I want to feel healthier and I want to fuel my activity, and I want to prevent myself from getting overuse injuries. And because I know that, I know I need to eat, but that doesn't help with my hunger signals. As a matter of fact, whenever I don't feel hungry and then I remember, oh, I need to eat, it actually makes me even more anxious and it's even harder for me to eat. So it is, it's like giving me a bit of a complex. Not gonna lie, it has made me a bit worried about having, if I have some sort of an eating disorder. You know, eating disorders are actually emotional disorders, and part of this is emotional, but I've looked up a number of different eating disorders. I don't really think I fall distinctly within any particular category. And then, okay, this person turning, is he going? I don't know. So I'm not so sure about that, but I do know that if things don't get better, I will probably end up having to see a therapist or a counselor. If I can't get it under control, then maybe that would be the smart thing to do to begin with. But I am gonna actually, I'm gonna try to focus on my habits first, and then if I can't get it better on my own, then I'm gonna seek some help. So the very first habit change thing I implemented over the past probably like 6 weeks was changing my caffeine intake. So at first, we used to take a lot of pre-workout in our house. We really like Inno Explode, but that usually has, if you do one serving, which I usually do a little bit less, it's like 275 milligrams of caffeine. And your body does increase its tolerance to caffeine. But once we finally ran out of our last jug of it, I was like, well, I don't really want to have that readily available because I think I'm kind of addicted to caffeine. So I didn't want to be able to take in more of that. So instead, I would turn to energy drinks. So it got to the point at one point where we were taking in like 4 or 5 energy drinks a week, which for me is a big deal. Like Bang Energy has 300 milligrams of caffeine per can, and the safest recommendation I think for an adult person is like 400 to 500 milligrams a day. I am a smaller human, so that's a bit much for me, especially considering I may have drank coffee in the morning, so I could be getting up to 400 a day. So Bang was too much. I actually backed off and I started drinking Celsius. So Celsius actually has like 250 milligrams of caffeine, but I found that it was still a bit much, and you're probably gonna ask, why the heck do I have one? So I actually decided to stop altogether drinking energy drinks. This is the first one that I've had in probably 4 or 5 weeks. I just pretty much quit cold turkey. I'm like, you know, I'm not doing this. What was really weird though, was right after I stopped drinking them, I started to notice like this fluttering like in my chest, almost like I had just taken an energy drink. It was really, really odd. But it lasted for about 2 solid weeks where I had this like buzzing feeling in my chest and sometimes in my arms. And I don't get it as often now. I've had it a little bit this week because I had a really stressful week. But besides that, just those 2 weeks and I started to feel a little bit better. So I've got one now because I had a rough day yesterday. My husband decided to buy me one. I drank half of this yesterday. I did have some trouble sleeping, so there's about half left. I might drink a quarter of this before I do this workout. But beyond that, this is actually out of the norm for me right now. I'm usually topping out at about 150 milligrams of caffeine a day from coffee and like teas and stuff. About 106 today. That's been about average lately. And looking skinny. Got this little bit of skinny fat going on here. But my legs are still kind of strong. So I totally feel like I can move more weight than that. I was only 35 pounds, but it's actually been about 2 weeks since the last time I worked out. So another thing that I've implemented is trying to do better about monitoring recovery, and I have a hard time with that. So like, I was having a hard time being consistent with workouts and learning how to scale back. When I write my own workouts, I tend to want to go gung-ho, but if I do somebody else's workouts, then I know I can like spend my energy scaling things back to make sure that my body is going to be able to recover. So a lot of my strength gains that I had years ago have gone through the floor, just really plummeted, and I'm slowly working on building this back up. But you know, with having struggles with weight gain and body fat percentage, obviously if you lose muscle mass, your body fat percentage is actually going to go up. So my body fat percentage is probably higher now than it was before, even though I'm skinnier. That's why I'm like kind of skinny fat. But that also affects your menstruation. So hypothalamic amenorrhea is when you lose your period, usually for at least 3 months before it's considered HA. I have not experienced that in a while, but I do notice that I'll have issues with menstruation coming really, really late, or I will miss a month. And there are, I've seen more and more information out there saying that low calorie intake actually can be a contributor. So even if your body composition has not changed drastically, even if you're not super underweight, which, because I'm not considered underweight, it could be that the decrease in calories is actually contributing to your body not having a period. I think it just feels like it needs to be able to keep that extra energy to make sure that you survive. The other thing is that when you get sick, your body expends extra energy. I know that some people, I think I mentioned this in my last video, some folks like to actually work out when they get sick. I am not one of those people because I already have such an issue with keeping calories and whatever. So I don't work out when I get sick. Well, I got sick twice, not within the past 3 weeks. I think within the previous month, or within the previous 2 months, I got sick twice within a couple weeks of each other. And right about the end of the second time that I got sick would have been when I would be menstruating again, and it didn't come. So I'm assuming that my body was kind of getting itself recovered from that. I had also started to work out really consistently, so I think between the extra expenditure with the strength workouts and then the getting sick, I missed a period, which really sucked because I was getting actually kind of excited. It's really weird to be excited about a period, guys. I was getting excited because I've always struggled with having regularity in menstruation, so I've finally gotten to the point where it's like clockwork now. So missing a month really just stabbed through the heart. So I have made a decision that the week before I should be menstruating, I'm gonna not do extra activity. So really different than anything I've ever heard anybody do, but I'll be working out consistently, strength training 3 weeks out of the month. The 4th week, I'm gonna actually trade out all of my strength training workout for karate workouts because that doesn't seem to have the same effect on my body. Because I've been training karate for years and never really had that much of an issue. So I'm gonna try that. I didn't try that this time because I didn't think about it until a couple days ago. But I actually, I timed it wrong, and I took basically 2 weeks off. So anyway, today's my first day back to lifting. I was able to menstruate and we're good to go, so you know. And just a side note, I know that some women are like, I don't want to have a period because it's gross and it's a pain, and I know that some people have really, really bad symptoms whenever they menstruate, and I'm not mocking anybody for that because mine are extremely mild compared to some people's, but a sign of a healthy person, not just as far as like calorie balance, but also hormonal balance, it is a sign of having, is what a period is a sign of. So you know, your bone mineral density, your ability to resist injury, all of that kind of stuff, that's all heavily affected by your body's regular monthly cycle. So if you're not having one, please see a doctor or specialist, or increase your calorie intake, or find someone who can help you. I'm not a professional in that area. I just have listened to lots of professionals and I kind of get the idea of what's going on here. But yeah, anyway, period talk is over. I only drank like a third of the remaining half, so we good. God be greater than the worries in my life, be stronger than the weakness in my mind, be louder, let your glory come alive, be magnified. So some folks actually get hungrier after they work out, depending on the type of workout. Especially high intensity workouts usually tend to make people hungrier, actually, which is why there's a big debate out as to whether or not a person should actually implement high intensity cardio. Obviously that was not cardio, that was supposed to be lifting weights. And that was not an intense workout, not at all. Like I broke like a very light sweat, but I'm still trying to get my body used to doing this again consistently. Already appetite is like blunted. So my body reacts exactly the opposite. After I work out, I tend to not be hungry. I actually tend to be like a little bit kind of uptight again for a number of hours. So I have to run some more errands and work with my grandma. We will probably grab lunch, so it might end up being a light lunch, but it will probably be within the next hour. So hopefully my stomach will have calmed down by then and I'll get a little extra food in me. I'm back from running errands with my grandmother. She wanted to stop by McDonald's, so I got a medium Coke and a ranch crispy chicken snack wrap because they are da bomb. So not that many calories, but it's gonna at least tide me over until I'm hungrier this evening. I find that if I can at least eat small things somewhat consistently around the same time every day, that I do better. Like I mentioned earlier, like how whenever I was younger, I was able to eat despite having like knotted up stomach. Anyway, so that's what I am trying to do now. So it is Saturday morning. Good morning, hair. The last thing that I actually implemented, well, one of the most recent things I implemented was actually some meditation time, especially first thing in the morning, but also sometimes in the evenings, depending on how easily I'm falling asleep. With not taking in as much caffeine, falling asleep is actually a lot easier for me, and staying asleep is a lot easier. But first thing in the morning, obviously I get a little bit knotted up. I'll sometimes wake up and I'm like really, really hungry first thing in the morning, but I think it also has to do with the fact that I'm really thirsty. So I'll drink something and then I start to get that knotted feeling in my stomach. So I will generally I'll do just like a 10 or 15 minute meditation thing. I've been using the Calm app, and I've actually been using the non-paid version just to make sure I'm going to use it before I actually pay for the app. And I will put up a screenshot of what it looks like right here. But yeah, so this is what I've been doing so far, and I've been implementing these habits little bits at a time. I'm feeling a little bit better. Slowly, you know, I fix one thing and another thing seems to fall apart here as far as the anxiety goes, but I will update you guys soon with other habits that I've implemented and what kind of progress I've gotten. Bye!